Okay, so now that the instructions are released for part three, or no, sorry, I want to get back to assignments here. All right, for part 3A, uh, we'll just quickly go over, pardon me. Hang on one second. Okay, I think I'm a little better now. All right, let's just kind of go over. So we're asking you to please use the posted solution for part two as you start part three. That's because we want you to focus on the new features that we're, going through and adding here. And, it's inevitable students, when they get the posted solution, they want to go back and use their own and fix it all up. Well, please do, right? I encourage you very strongly, take the posted solution, compare it to yours, and if you had any issues or problems, compare the code and see if you can fix up yours and get it working as well, right? I don't want to discourage anybody from, taking the time to, address any issues they had getting to this point in the development, because that's the most important thing you could do. But because it's important to learn each of these new features, and they each build on top of previous work, right? So, to a degree, but at the same time, these ones can be added, as long as you have a working solution added in as you go along. So that way you can focus on the new material and get it down and then incorporate it into your previous work if and when you have time as well. Okay. So, that's why we're asking you to please use the posted solution. So we finally added in pretty much all the models that we had started off in our original design for this application, which of course is still greatly simplified from a real world one, but still, we've added the worker. By the way, I changed that from staff to worker. I found that rolled off the tongue a little better, and that the intersection here could just be called work, right, rather than function worker, right? Now, equipment, I couldn't think of a good name, so we're just sticking with function equipment as the associative entity here. And that's basically what we've added. So to save you, right? Poor students, you've spent so much time adding new entities and getting seed data in place. I really didn't want to burden you with that much time doing all the seed data. So guess what? Okay, these new entities have already been added to the posted solution for part two, along with seed data. Yay, right? So you don't have to worry about generating all of the new seed data for these as well. It's already in the posted solution. Okay. Please do, though, take time to look over the new classes, make sure you're familiar with what properties are in there, uh, and away you go, right? So a couple of little things I want you to do. First of all, make sure that your name and student number are in the comments at the top of the DB context. As well, you'll see that when we come to looking at the posted solution, there's a spot right on the screen where you can put your name displayed right on the home index page, right? Look at that, 2 marks just for getting that in place. Now, all the DB sets are in there as well for the new entities that we've added, right? And that's good. But one thing that is missing, a unique index and a combination of worker ID and function ID in this work entity, right? So this is that one up here, the associative entity for function and work. Because it's not like function room, where we actually have the 2 foreign keys make up a composite primary key. Work as an entity has its own integer identity primary key. However, to maintain the relationships properly, we have to guarantee that we don't get that combination of the 2 foreign keys duplicated. The worker can't work on the same function more than once, right? Yeah, we're going to have a spot where they can, have additional data stored there about how many points they get for working the function. The more hours and so on, then they'll get more points, right? But they only should have uh, one record for working the function. So that's what this other, we have to put a unique constraint on the combination of worker ID and function ID. So I'll give you a hint though. If you go into the posted solution, you'll see there already is code doing the same thing here for function equipment, right? So you can just look at how that was done there and do it again, but for these particular entities, right? And really, it's not that different because you have created a composite primary key before for function room, right? And you've created unique constraints before, right? So just combining the unique constraint idea with a composite idea, and that's what you actually have to do there, right? The other thing here for the 3 marks, currently there's actually not even a migrations folder for the DB context. nothing there, right? So you'll have to start a new set of migrations and change the initializer. Right now, it just is using the ensure deleted, ensure created approach. So change it to, call context database migrate, right? Once, of course, you've actually added the migrations. Okay. All right. So that's just the first 5 marks there. Then we'll have 20 marks in total, divided into two 10-mark components. We now have these 5 lookups, right? We had one before. We already had function type, and we kind of said, well, we'll make a controller for that for now, right? So we can maintain it. But now we want to group that in with all the other ones: equipment, room, meal type, worker. And we want to, instead of having the controller for each with a separate index page for each one, we'll still be using the controllers and their different views for the different actions to actually maintain the data, but we want to pull everything together into a single index, right? So that one index view, our lookup index view, will have all the data for all the lookups available in one of 2 approaches, right? So that's something we covered just recently, the 2 different ways that you can actually get that in place, and I will let you choose which of the 2 you want to do, right? So that's the first 10 marks there. Now, the other 10 marks out of this portion, the fact that we don't even have the actual controllers for many of these lookups yet, right? So you're going to have to create separate controllers and views for each of the lookup entities. So from that common lookup index, you can call upon them to do things like actually adding a new worker or whatever the case is, right? So we still need the other controllers and views, although as you'll see, if you haven't had a chance to review it yet, the class on how to work with this common lookup approach, uh, we don't even need index views for these other lookup values anymore, right? We just need the actual create, edit, and delete. We don't even need the details either for that matter, right? So you can get rid of all that, just have the 3 views for each one and set up the controllers so they always navigate back to the lookup index. And that should be after you finish saving any changes to the data. I didn't mention it here, but obviously as well, if you just click the link to go back to the list, right? That should always take you back to the lookup index. Okay. Now, we're going to be adding all these controllers. One thing that's a little bit time consuming and repetitive, okay, that's why I made it a bonus, is make sure you do modify all the code saving changes, right? Should always be wrapped in a try catch block, right? And the edit post should always use try update model, okay? So take time to do that, and that will be a bonus. Now, you know how I work with bonuses, right? There aren't specific marks assigned, but what I'll do then is if you're missing marks from other work inside the overall project assignment, right, then if you have the bonus done, then that can make up for it. You can still get a perfect mark even if you miss a few marks somewhere else, right? Okay, and that's the 20 marks related to the lookup entities. Then we need to be able to upload documents. If you've ever worked in industry in this area at all, you know it all runs on documents. First is proposals for a function are sent back and forth, saying, if you want to choose these options, it'll cost you this much and so on. Then there's finally a contract that gets signed by all the parties involved. And of course, then there's going to be invoices after the fact and so on, right? So our application needs to be able to manage all these kinds of documents being uploaded. And a function will have many documents related to it, and each document relates to a single function, right? And then, of course, if a function is deleted, we want to make sure that Cascade Delete removes all the documents that were added to the system related to the function, okay? Um, we're going to set it up so when creating or editing a function, you should be able to select multiple files at once and upload them to the function, right? You should be able to click links to download the related documents. Okay, now those links at the very least should appear on the details view. If you can find room to show them on the index view as well, that's fine, but at least show them on the details view. They probably should be on the delete view as well, but that's really, if they're deleting it, I'm not so worried about showing the actual related documents there, but guaranteed it should be on the details view. All right. And then we need a new controller for managing the uploaded documents as well. Now that isn't in my actual demo. I talk about it, but here, I'm not going to lead you through and give you exactly step by step how to do absolutely everything. But you can take what you've learned so far and you should be able to easily get this done. We want to be able to go in and manage all the uploaded documents. I suggested on the index view you have filters, right? So we can filter for, one given function, or see all the documents across all functions right on the index view, or search by characters in the file name. That would be another great filter option. Okay, we want to add paging, but we'll just always sort by the file name, right? With whatever filter might be applied. Okay. Now I don't even need to say it, right? But you probably do want to make sure you're as well persisting the current page filter. Well, sorting is obviously a given on this view as well on the index view. Okay. The index should also have links for downloading and deleting the documents. Now we don't have to worry about creating, right? You don't create documents on this controller. We create all the documents from the actual functions, edit or create views themselves, right? If you need to upload a new uh, invoice related to a function, you go to the function and that's where you upload it, right? Okay. But I do throw a little bonus in here. Why not add a description property, right, for the function document? Now, if you've watched the lessons on how to actually work with uploaded files, when we select a file to upload, there's no opportunity at that point in time, especially when you're doing multiple, right, to actually add a description. But after it's uploaded, then, we should be able to go and add a description once the file is uploaded, right? Okay, and that's it. So we won't hand in part A, right? Similar to as we've done in the past. There's going to be additional steps in part 3 before you actually submit the work, okay? Whether it's going to be another ABC situation, quite likely it will, but maybe we'll actually even have you hand it in after just an A and a B. I am not quite promising yet, haven't quite worked that out, right? But you don't hand in part A. So anyway, that's a quick overview of the work that's involved. So you see that there's actually 45 marks here for this initial work. And as I say, try to get as much of it done during the reading week as possible, right? So that you don't fall behind. If you can get it all finished before you come back, great. Then you'll have a clean slate to focus on other work, even preparing for the test that happens at the end of the first week when you return. Any questions about the instructions for the next part? Okay, well, let's get to reviewing the solution.